Hello again, Indiana high school football fans, and welcome back to the Hoosier Prep Gridiron podcast. I'm your host, Tim Phillips, and we're back today with another edition of the Coach's Corner, where we visit with Indiana high school football coaches from throughout the state. Our guest today is head football coach Travis Nolting at Greenfield Central High School in suburban Indianapolis. Coach, great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you, Coach. Hope things are well in Greenfield. Um, Before we get started, I want to give a little bit of background on Greenfield. We have a statewide audience, Greenfield Central, Class 4A school, right on the edge of moving to 5A. We'll talk a little bit about that, and plays in the Hoosier Heritage Conference. Coach is entering his seventh year. You know, Coach, I can remember when we first talked after you left North Central. Doesn't seem like 6 years ago.
It's went by pretty fast.
Yeah, it really has. 36 wins, 27 losses overall at Greenfield Central, 17 and 5 over the last 2 years. So obviously, this program, since you started, I think was it 1 and 9 or 0 and 10 that first year?
When I took over the year previous, they were 0 and 10. My first year we were here, we won two games. We were 2 and 8.
Won two
And-
games that first year, won 9 games in 23, 8 games last year. Coach also has an overall record of 96 and 55. Came over from the North Central Fighting Thunderbirds, where it was his previous stop, I think 7 or 8 years. Coach, let's talk about kind of where this Greenfield Central program is at. Clearly, you came in, program had bottomed out, was winless for a couple years. Participation was down, talent was down, not a lot of size, not a lot of community support. Team was not competitive in the Hoosier Heritage Conference. I'm sure you came in with your 3 year, 5 year plan, whatever it was. Um, Clearly, this has been one of the real success stories, in my view, throughout the entire state. How would you assess where the program is today, just relative to overall strength, top to bottom, feeder program, numbers, community administrative support, and also the quality of athletes that we're starting to see on the field? You guys have had some great luck recruiting, sending a lot of kids off to D1 schools in the last few years. So this program has really exploded and elevated. Where are we at relative to your expectations and maybe also those of your athletic director and your administration?
Well, the multi-part question here. To first address it, I think when I got here, I don't know if the program had been in an any lower of a state. Like you said, morale was low. We had 49 players on our roster that first year, and that was grades 9 through 12. We were playing freshmen, a lot of freshmen. We were playing a lot of sophomores, kids that probably shouldn't have been out there that young. But that's what we had to do. So I would say to preface that with, I think the administration saw where the program was and they wanted to get it out of the basement, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So we put a lot of things into helping that become accomplished. Since I've been here, one of the first things that I got to do as I was hired was help design the brand new weight room we have,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. It's a 7,500 square foot weight room.
Wow.
I got to pick what we had in there. I got to kind of institute the program that I want to run with our guys. When I first got here, we had 10 kids that could squat 300 pounds or more to parallel. And we only had 8 kids in the program that could bench 200 pounds or more.
Wow.
Um, so when you say things were pretty bad, they were pretty bad. So
That's like going back to the 70s.
well, and I told our kids, just to be frank, I was like, I could have taken my 2018 North Central team up here and probably beat you. And that was a bad place to be. But the administration here has been very supportive. Like I said, we've got a brand new weight room, brand new locker room, brand new coach's office. All that stuff is under 5 years old. Brand new training facility. We're building things all the time. Greenfield is expanding, as you know, as you're well
Mm-hmm.
aware, just like some of the other surrounding communities that are near us. But I can't say enough about the support that I've had from the front office administration with Dr. Harold Olin and Jason Carey, the assistant superintendent who was a principal at the time when I was hired,
Yeah.
and then our athletic director, Jared Manning, and assistant athletic director, Elizabeth Mercer. They are very supportive, get me whatever I need, and we were in a bad place. To get, even preface it even further, we did our first spring practice, my very first year here. I didn't have a single football to practice with. I had to
Oh,
use the
wow.
sectional championship football
That's
game
crazy.
ball from North Central for our first practice because we didn't have any balls. Uh,
Yeah.
so, so that's kind of where we were at that time, and there were a lot of contributing factors to that. I can't pinpoint it to one thing, but I do know that when I interviewed, the general message was, we don't want to be here anymore. And
Hmm.
I saw an opportunity that I could come in and make a direct impact. And really, the blueprint that I used was not much different than the blueprint that was used at North Central Farmersburg. Very similar situation when I got there. The morale was low. Football was an afterthought. Um, we had a bunch of ragtag kids that we built into champions there. And
Hmm.
I used the same blueprint as I did there, and it's a top to bottom blueprint. I mean, you have to go in if you want to change the culture of a place, and you have to start at the bottom, and you have
Yeah.
to spread that culture all the way through. And if you look at any successful program in Indiana, I'll use Center Grove High School as an example. Their feeder programs are running their systems. Coach Moore has some non-negotiables that he has in place for those programs, and we do too. You're going to run our offense, you're going to run our defense at
Sure.
those lower levels. I'm down there heavily invested in it. I don't think you can be an absent coach with your youth leagues. Um, but I think it's definitely been a journey for sure. We've done, like you said, some amazing things, but that's not all me. I give 100% credit to the kids that have come through here that have accepted the direction that we have established, and the coaches that have come through. We have some great coaches that have come through here. Two of the guys on my former coaches on my staff are now head coaches at other programs that
Hmm.
were at Greenfield Central. So, things are moving in the right direction for sure, but it's definitely been a process, and we've had a lot of good support staff with assistant coaches and administration and the kids.
Yeah.
All those ingredients mixing in have really impacted it all.
People talk a lot about culture, and different folks have different opinions on it. But there really wasn't a football culture at Greenfield until you arrived. And looking at your football team, I like to use the eye test. And when I look at football teams, how they fill out their uniforms, how they look in pregame, and um, clearly the weight room, has been the impetus, I would think, that's really driven your program. You've got a lot of big, strong, strapping young kids in there that have been in that weight room program now for 4, 5, 6 years running, and it really shows up on the field. And looking at your own conference, you got a football program at New Pal that's driven off the weight room.
Mhm.
And if you're ever going to get to where you want to go, which is to win a conference championship, you're going to have to play that kind of hard-nosed power football.
Yeah, we have, like I said, it was bad when we got here in terms of the strength of the team. But the kids, high school kids are going to work as hard as they're pushed, right? So when you come in there and you say, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, these are the program expectations, and if you want to play, you're going to have to live up to those expectations, and that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
how we've done these things. So, again, the kids are working hard. I can't just wave a magic wand over a program and it's automatically successful. It takes a lot of hard work and commitment. I tell the kids all the time that, the price for success is high. The sacrifices you have to make, practicing 6 days a week in the season, and going through all those things. It was a big culture change for a lot of these kids because they weren't ready for it. But we have instituted all those things down in our lower levels. We have junior high weightlifting that I run in the evenings 2 days a week now that hasn't been done for as far as I know. We're in the process of expanding, trying to get a junior high weight room started. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
things too, because if I have kids that are fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth graders that are coming in 2 nights a week and lifting. If they don't lift until they're a freshman, I've lost 2 years with them. That I could
Sure.
have had them in the weight room, and then
Yeah.
we're 2 years behind everybody else. It's funny you kind of mentioned this too, because I heard on one of your other podcasts you talked about how COVID Coach was talking about how COVID was a setback for them. It actually helped us, and it helped us
Correct.
because that was year two,
Hmm.
and we were able to use that time to catch up to some of the people in our conference, just because they were slowed down.
Yeah.
So it
Hmm.
actually helped our program in that weight room area to get better and stronger and start kind
Yeah.
of evening the playing field and getting a little competitor with the Mount Vernons and the Pendleton Heights and the New Pals.
Yeah.
So those are things that we really strived for, and again, like I said, it goes without saying the kids have to put the work in. I can do a lot of things as a coach. I can have a great offense, a great defense, great special teams. I can be a great motivator, but I can't make somebody want it as much or more than me. They got
Yeah.
to want to do that themselves. So it speaks
Well,
volumes.
and clearly winning is going to be a real motivator for a lot of kids too. That
Absolutely,
may,
yes,
you've got a lot of naturally talented student athletes in the hallways there with nearly 1,500 kids. And, some of those kids that weren't thinking about football maybe when they were in fourth, fifth, sixth grade, you start winning like you're winning now, they want to be a part of it. Coach,
yes,
let's talk a little bit about spring football.
sure.
Um, every school kind of has a different approach to spring. Some schools don't do anything. Some schools throw a football out there and let the guys go out and toss the ball around and maybe do a little
Mhm.
7-on-7. Other schools treat it almost like college spring football, and there's a little bit of a mixture of what you see. What's your approach to spring ball? What are you trying to accomplish in the short compressed time period you have, and what does this program do for you to kind of give you a springboard into the August camp?
Yeah, sure. We take approach. It's like a non-padded practice for us.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you can't put helmets and shoulder pads on, but we go through a tackling circuit on bags. We go through a turnover circuit. We go into individual offensive period, individual defensive period, and we have a. We don't necessarily do team D. We kind of break it up, and we have a 7-on-7 with the lineman down there doing one-on-ones and install. Obviously, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to run team D with no pads on. Then we do team O on against hand shields, and we have everybody here that isn't in a spring sport, it's an expectation. Obviously, I can't make it mandatory. We're not allowed to make it mandatory, but the expectation is you want to get on the field, you want to get here, you need to start learning what's
Sure.
going on. So, and we have a lot of kids that come over after their track practice is over, or if they're not playing a
Yeah.
baseball game, and I think that also speaks volumes to about the multi-sport athletes we have here too. We have a lot of great kids
Got
that
a
do a
lot
lot
of
of
them.
things
Mm-hmm.
which I'm a huge supporter of. I believe in the multi-sport athlete, and we have a lot of kids that play baseball, a lot of kids play track, so we're very happy to share those guys with those other sports programs. But
Yep.
we've got a good majority of our kids that are here that are not doing anything. And then we also bring in our incoming freshmen with us. So if they're a
Okay.
current eighth grader and not doing anything, they are here practicing with us as well. I would say the biggest focus that we have with our spring practice is to teach the fundamentals, the drills and things that we use every day so that when we start June 2nd, we don't have to reteach a lot of stuff. We have all these kids that kind of know what the expectations are at practice, the pacing of practice, how fast it has to be, what drills are going to be expected to do. And it's a teaching thing where, we're teaching base fundamentals, our blocking system on
Mm-hmm.
offense, our base plays, defense, our base fronts, our base coverages. Those are things we're all focusing on. We don't get super advanced because we don't have all of our guys. I mean, we've got guys that
Right.
golf too, and they're
Right.
not here. So we're getting a lot of young guys, a lot of reps, and building up that what I call positional depth through grades because
Mm-hmm.
you got to have that when you graduate people.
You bet. You bet. Great, Coach. Let's just to wrap up. Let's take a look ahead. There's some
Sure.
changes coming for Greenfield Central for the Hoosier Heritage Conference. I think both GC and Mount Vernon are both right on the edge and probably likely to move up to Class 5A with the next IHSAA classification. Looking back at your schedule, you've opened up, you're going to open up this year with Greensburg and Beech Grove. Clearly, I'm sure you're positioning your program to move up to 5A. And
Yeah.
what are you guys doing from a scheduling standpoint? Shelbyville is leaving the conference. You're going to have an open date there. Are you evaluating your non-conference schedule? Are you anticipating additional potential changes in the HHC? kind of a lot of moving parts for you and the AD to plan looking ahead.
Yeah, we're actually going to have three openings in 26. Week 1 and 2 will both be open. This is the last year contract for Beech Grove and Greensburg. Um, we will be looking for games to replace on our non-conference schedule. We've already started that process and put some things out there, and then obviously with the Shelbyville week as well.
Just
Um,
curious about that, Coach. What would
yeah.
you like to do in those first 2 weeks? Best case scenario.
I'd like to play. I would like to play 4 or 5A schools. That that's kind of what the objective is for us. We know we're very close to being a 5A program in terms of enrollment. I think
Hmm.
if you looked at the enrollment, like you said, Mount Vernon, us, and even Pendleton Heights are right up there at that 5A line. And I think it's going to depend on kind of the success factor a little bit and who bumps up and who bumps down. But
Right.
but I anticipate either the next cycle or the cycle after that, with the growing number of housing developments and kids we have around here, I see it's
Right.
going to be up. But we will definitely want to play some teams that are going
Hmm.
to give us a challenge to help us get better and better ready for the tournament. 5A is kind of a monster because there's a big discrepancy. So we've got to do some things infrastructure wise to prepare for that. We've kind of started that process now in house with some things that we're doing and some things that we're changing in our corporation. But the big thing is just getting the kids ready to play that level of football. It's a different world in 5 and 6A than it is even in
Sure.
4A. So,
You bet.
uh,
You bet.
that's kind of the objective. But we will have 3 weeks open next year that we're looking to definitely replace and boost our schedule.
Last thing, Coach. Looking ahead to the season ahead, um, what are your thoughts? You're coming off two pretty strong seasons. I'm sure the exits, in the sectionals are sometimes a bitter pill to swallow, but you always learn something from that. Um, how would you assess the overall talent and depth that you've got coming back this year? And do you feel like you've got a football team that contend for a conference championship and maybe make an advancement and contend for a sectional title?
I really like our team. We returned 9 starters on offense, including the entire starting offensive line, and two of our starting running backs back there. So um, our line is big. We have really worked hard. 4 of those guys bench over 3 and squat over 5.
Wow.
So
Hmm.
we're very excited about those guys. And I told our kids, matter of fact, told them last Wednesday, and I tell them this all the time. We're building our team around our linemen. I think you have to do that, and I'm excited about those guys. We did lose a little bit defensively with some guys, so we're going to be a little bit younger on defense. But we have when I say we build up positional depth, we have guys that played that maybe didn't start, but played
Hmm. Sure.
significant reps that are going to probably take on bigger roles on both sides of the ball or the other side of the ball and things like that. So we've got about 7 guys that I feel on the line that can play for us.
Hmm.
And we've went through some new stuff here. I've got a big new coaching staff because we've had some changes on our coaching staff.
Okay.
Our longtime defensive coordinator Josh Holden is now the head coach of Eastern Hancock, and we've had to replace him. And he's been he was a staple of the program for a long time, even
Hmm.
before I got here. So congratulations to him as well. But we have done a good job of, I think, hiring some good young guys that are ready to help and donate time. I think the biggest loss for us, obviously, we lost a couple All-State guys. Division I defensive player Peyton Foley going to Butler. All-State defensive end Zach Blevins, who was a force for us last year, and then our All-State quarterback Dallas Freeman has graduated and he's going on to St. Francis. So normally in most years when you lose a starting quarterback, I would be kind of concerned. But the kid we have coming in just happens to share the same last name as me and has been running my system for since he could walk. So so we're
Terrific.
we're we're excited, and I'm excited as a coach because I get to coach my son, my oldest son,
Hmm.
up here this year, who will be a freshman, but he is not a typical freshman. He's a little bit older than most. I did the old Texas red shirt
Okay.
my boys were young, so he'll be a he'll be a
Fantastic.
he'll be a 16-year-old freshman. But he's
All
been
right.
been running our number one offense and doing a good job. And the good thing for him is, with the experienced backfield we have with All-State running back Cooper Hinton and uh,
Hmm.
some other guy, all conference running back Trenton Smith back there, and then Braylon Benavente, our fullback. There's some two seniors and a junior back there that can tote the rock pretty well. So we're excited about the guys we have going forward. So I think it could be a great year. To answer your question, we're always going to try to compete for a conference championship. New Pal is a tough team. They're a great program. Obviously, historically, you can go back and look, and Kyle Ralph has done a fantastic job there. They're a very tough program. But we're obviously our mindset is to go in and compete and get to that level. We want to try to get there. The kind of the silver lining a little bit is now New Pal's moved up to 5A, so they're out of our sectional. I don't know what that's going to look like because IHSA, as far as I know, hasn't pushed out the new stuff yet, but
Right.
I know there could be some changes coming. I know with Heritage Hills bumping up. I don't know if Yorktown will bump back down to 3A. They were intersectional, but
Hmm.
I really feel that we can, if God willing, no injuries and everything goes well, I think we can definitely compete in the tournament for sure this year.
It reminds me a little bit of the Martinsville situation last year where East Central moved up to 5A.
Yeah.
And then you saw Martinsville make a nice run all the way down to the semi-state. Great to see you again, Coach. Sounds like a lot of really exciting things going on at Greenfield Central. Got to tell you, one of my favorite programs to watch. I love the way you
Thank you.
guys play.
Appreciate you.
Very physical, hard-pounding, kind of old-school style football. So it's good to see that. Best of luck to your kids this year. Have a great spring, and I'm sure we'll be back in touch here during the season.
Thank you, Tim.
You bet, Coach.